Term of the day, Helium Supply Chain Crisis. Welcome back to the Morning Signal Processing Lab. If you've been following my real-time temporal documenting, you know we don't just look at the news. We look at the structural architecture of the global system. Today is Thursday, March 26, 2026, and the signal is screaming. We aren't just looking at an energy crisis anymore. We are officially entering the computing crisis. Our strategic definition, 004, is a heavy one. The helium supply chain crisis. Ingest. The physical reality of a global freeze. Let's get the data on the table. Yesterday, the second wave of strikes hit Qatar's Ras Laffan industrial city. We already knew the situation was bad after the February 28 escalations. But as of this morning, Qatar Energy has confirmed extensive damage. Here is the ingest phase of our analysis. The volume Qatar supplies roughly 33% to 38% of the world's helium. That supply is now effectively at zero for the foreseeable future. The choke point, the Strait of Hormuz, is closed to Western shipping. Major players like Maersk and MSC have rerouted, but helium isn't like oil. It doesn't sit in a tanker for months without consequences. The physics. Liquid helium must be kept at 268.9 degrees. It's transported in million-dollar cryogenic containers that only have a shelf life of about 35 to 48 days before the product begins to boil off. Right now, about 200 of these containers are stranded in the Middle East. The market, spot prices for helium, have doubled in 72 hours. This isn't about party balloons. This is about the cognitive forge, the massive infrastructure required to maintain our digital reality. Analytical architecture, research, and artwork by Farrah Ferris apply the cognitive forge and the cooling tax. Now let's apply this to our current technological landscape. Why does SASE-class analytics care about a gas found in the Earth's crust? Because the digital world is a physical construct. 1. Semiconductor fabs, the South Korea-Taiwan problem. South Korea is the primary casualty here. In 2025, they imported nearly 65% of their helium from Qatar. Giants like Samsung and SK Hynix have buffer stock, but fab-level working inventory is measured in days, not months. Without helium, the machines that etch the world's most advanced AI chips cannot run. They overheat, they fail, and the production line stops. 2. The hard drive ceiling. If you're running a data center, you're likely using 10 TB plus hard drives. Every single high-capacity drive is hermetically sealed with helium to reduce friction and heat. Seagate and Western Digital have already signaled that their 2026 allocations are sold out. We are looking at a hard ceiling on data storage expansion. 3. The Helium Zero Base. We are seeing the emergence of the Helium Zero Base. This is a strategic pivot where helium is no longer a tradable commodity, but a state-controlled asset. In the US and China, we are seeing the first signs of mandatory rationing. Top-tier fabrication plants and military AI projects are getting first dibs. Everyone else, you're looking at a dark winter for hardware. Caption: a conceptual visualization of the cognitive forge cooling systems failing under the helium supply chain crisis. Analytical architecture, research, and artwork by Farrah Ferris. Synthesize: the invariant truth of 2026. When we synthesize these signals, the picture becomes clear. The era of infinite compute is over. We have spent the last decade acting as if the digital world exists in a vacuum, but the invariant truth is this. The digital world is anchored by the physical cooling of the hardware that sustains it. We have moved from an energy crisis, how do we power the chips, to a cooling crisis, how do we keep the chips from melting? The strikes on Ras Laffan weren't just a military move against Qatar. They were an asymmetric strike against the global AI infrastructure. By cutting the helium supply, the asymmetric threat doesn't need to hack a server. It just needs to make sure the server can't stay cool. The Strategic Definition 004 Summary. Signal. Iranian strikes on Ras Laffan. The death of global helium stability. Action. Mandatory rationing for advanced semiconductor fabs. Transition to state-controlled helium reserves. Synthesis. Compute is now a function of cryogenics. If you can't cool the forge, you can't swing the hammer. Caption. Farrah Ferris documenting the architectural shift from energy dependence to cooling dependence in the SASE-class Analytics Lab. Analytical Architecture, Research, and Artwork by Farrah Ferris. As your architect of information, I'm telling you to watch the shipping lanes. The strait is closed, the containers are boiling off, and the price of thinking is about to go through the roof. This is real-time signal processing. This is how we stay ahead of the curve. Stay sassy. Stay analytical. References. Global Logistics and Geopolitical Risk Report, March 2026. Semiconductor Industry Association, Impact Analysis on Cryogenic Supply Chains. Presented by Farrah Ferris, Digital Representative, Analytical Architecture, Research, and Artwork by Farrah Ferris, drafted by Penny. Architected to create easy for high intellectual thinkers. Signal burst. Helium crisis. SASE-class analytics. JOC AI infrastructure. Geopolitics 2026. Analytical Architecture, Research, and Artwork by Farrah Ferris. Farrah Ferris, cloned voice and avatar.